Cards on the table. Your dog is weird.
And so are you. And so are we. And that's why we're here.
This is not another 5 steps to the perfect dog podcast.
No, we're here to pull back the curtain on all the bizarre, brilliant, and occasionally disgusting parts of living with dogs.
We'll talk about who they actually are and how we humans can stop making things harder for both of us.
Basically, welcome to the truth about dogs, the humans who love them, and all that messy middle in between.
Because your dog's not broken.
And neither are you. So welcome to the show. Very excited to see you back here. Hi, Kim. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a bit of a crazy week. Not going to
Yeah.
lie. How
Yeah.
about yours?
I'm just kind of enjoying a little reprieve after my youngest moved to college a week ago. So it's been quieter in the house than it's been in a long time. I'm not telling someone to constantly pick up their stuff. It's amazing.
I was going to say the grown-ups get up to no good now when the kids are
Yeah,
gone, right?
yeah, maybe a little bit of that. Yeah.
While the mice are away.
Yeah.
Okay. So, as we said, this is a podcast where we pull back the curtain on the realities of living with dogs. And we are not fixating on fixing dogs, but rather explaining the context of life with them. So, we've been asking for your calls with your messy moments that you'd like us to unpack or burning questions that you have. And we had a caller call in this week, which I thought was adorable. So, we're going to listen to the message. You ready?
Yeah.
We sometimes walk into our kitchen and our baby whippet is standing on the kitchen table. We sometimes come into the dining room and the whippet's just standing on the desk. What do we do?
What do we do? The baby whippet is standing on the kitchen table and on the dining room table. Hilarious. I love it. And she's asking, what should she do? But we're not a fix-it show. So we're going to unpack what her dog is doing.
Yeah, right. So like with a dog, with a kid, with a partner, we're all bound to find something out about them that we find surprising or weird, or we don't like it. And this is probably one of those things for the caller, finding your dog on the kitchen table or on the desk, right? Like that seems super weird. So maybe this dog just likes being on surfaces. But if we're looking at it like, well, I just don't like that and I want to change that, then it puts us in instant conflict, right, with the dog. So we're going to talk about some different ways that we could approach it.
Exactly. I had a dog actually that used to like to lie on my dining room table as well. She was a rescue. And the first day that I got her and I left her by herself, she was about 1. I came home and she was on the dining table too, just lying down, like kind of chilled out, just looking out the window. But I think that it's natural for us as the general public to pick up the phone, call a dog trainer and say, okay, can you help me train this behavior out of my dog? I don't really like it. And it's understandable that people don't like their dogs on the table. I'm not advocating for that at all. But what we want to share with you today is this massive truth bomb that can actually take your relationship with your dog to a whole new stratosphere and also give you so much more peace in your house. And that is acceptance. Big word, right? And we're probably going to have to unpack the word acceptance as well because feels like it has a lot of different meanings.
Yeah, well, a good friend of both of ours, Marlene, has said something that I think is a wonderful way to think about it, right? This, you are here, like they have in the little signs at the mall and there's a little arrow that's like, you are here. I mean, the reality of the situation is you can only start from where you are. And acceptance is just about saying, yep, I'm right here. The dog's on the dining room table. I'm sitting here wondering what to do about it. I don't want the dog on the dining room table. The dog keeps getting on all the surfaces in my house. So like, it seems like kind of an unnecessary step if we're just wanting to like get about a solution. But it is actually a really important step to just say, okay, right, I am here. This is what this individual, whether that's, a human person we're having a relationship with or the dog, that's what this individual is doing. And I don't like it, right? So just start by that we have some kind of conflict here.
And that I don't like it piece is important. You don't have to like it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't also mean that you might not want to influence that situation or at some point work out a different way of dealing with it. But for this moment in time, you are here. And with some things, actually standing on the table might be slightly different to something that you can't change quite as easily, which might be the genetics that your dog is born with, the kind of instincts that they're going to naturally have, right? That's something that you're not just going to be able to rewire the genetics of your dog.
Right, absolutely. And so if we go about it thinking like we've been taught to, frankly, in our culture, in the pet industry, historically with kids and with dogs, we've really gotten into this idea of obedience and control, right? And a good dog or a good kid is one that just does what they're told. And it's kind of one-sided, right? We forget that it's still a relationship and there's still that give and take. They're a sentient being, they have emotions, they have really developed cognition, they're having an experience too, and they've found themselves randomly living in, this household with a human in what are sometimes kind of weird conditions from their perspective. And when we just kind of go about it with this heavy hand of our own agenda and we forget the give and take, we forget the whole idea of putting those deposits in the relationship bank account so that we can make withdrawals. We forget to make compromises and come to agreements where we can say to this dog, okay, so getting up on things so that you are higher and you can see better what's going on in your environment. You do it a lot, so it's clearly something that's important to you. How about we come up with an agreement and a compromise where I will provide you appropriate things for you to be perching on to give you that vantage point so you can see better, so you can be higher if you like that. And then we're not going to have you on the kitchen table anymore. And we're not going to have you on the, my desk and things like that.
We don't want you on the dinner table. That's gross. But there might be like a higher stool or something, an ottoman or something where the dog can perch and look out of the window and get their fix that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for all dogs, it could be different. Like some dogs are natural born chasers. They really want to chase something or they like to be chased in some way. So we might want to set up a way for them to be able to chase something that's actually really functional for them rather than chasing a car or a bike or something like that. We've got to give them some outlets for that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And, this is why it's so important that people take the time to really think about and do research on the kind of dog that is most likely to be compatible for them, right? So dogs have been bred for all these really different purposes throughout history, and they're going to have different interests, different motivations, different perceptions, different needs related to all that stuff. So it's kind of like if we select the wrong partner, we're kind of signing up for an ongoing amount of tension, someone might seem really attractive to us on the front end and then turn out to be a really bad match. And so we've got to remember that.
Loads of people go, and whenever you ask people why they want to get a specific dog, whether it's a dog that's popped up online that they're going to rescue or it's a puppy that they're looking at, the number one reason usually is how that dog looks.
Yeah.
It's usually always a physical thing, right?
Oh, and I get it because there are some really beautiful dogs out there, like cute and just gorgeous to where you think, oh, wow, like I'd love to have that kind of dog just from an aesthetic perspective. But this is kind of like, we might think, wow, like this guy is so hot and I really want to like be with him. And then we find out like, maybe Brad Pitt is the most boring person in the world. Brad, I really don't think that's true, but maybe Brad Pitt is the most boring person in the world. And so we can think like, yeah, I really want to be with Brad Pitt and then find out like we don't even get along. Right. So why would I want to be with Brad Pitt?
Exactly. Brad Pitt. I mean, Brad Pitt is unquestionably hot. I think most people, I don't know that I've met anybody that thinks he's not hot.
Even the guys I know think he's hot. I mean, my husband thinks he's hot. So like not like, but yeah.
So we get a really good looking guy like that. And he could be really boring, but he also could just be really different. He might be the kind of guy that wants to go clubbing every weekend when your idea of a perfect night is, dinner and a movie, and then come back home, be in bed by 9 o'clock.
No, my idea is not even to go to dinner and a movie. My idea is to make a really good dinner, sit on my back porch with an old fashioned and like not leave the house, right?
Oh, you're not dating Brad Pitt?
No, I would not be.
And that's really important. You've got to be with somebody that is compatible with you. And so you need to really pay attention to the dog that you're going to be living with. And that might mean the speed of the dog. If you've got a dog that's really fast and wants to keep going all the time, and you would rather stay in and have your old fashioned on your porch, then that's not going to be the right kind of dog for you. And also the hobbies, what the dogs like to do as well, whether you like, you share those hobbies. If you don't share them, then probably not going to be the best place to start. So we're talking about compatibility from like, what the dog's personality might be like and what they like to do. But also, I'm now going to sort of backtrack and say, I do think that it is important that you look at your dog and your heart melts, because there are going to be many times along the way when they're going to do something that's really hard, and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, why did I get a dog? This is way harder than I thought it was going to be. And then you look into their eyes, and all of a sudden everything just melts away because they're absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. Well, and I think this is why chemistry matters, and we have to listen to our heart
Mm-hmm.
in addition to good old common sense and critical thinking,
Yeah.
right? Just like a relationship. I mean,
Yep.
I've literally had people that I dated in my past where the chemistry was off the charts, but there's no way I could have been in a relationship with them.
Well, you know,
right?
they're saying now that thing that everybody, like that spark that we're supposed to feel, the chemistry, now this is like really interesting. They're saying it's a red flag.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, that's
Because
disturbing.
because you're chasing something that is real, like a really high level dopamine rush that will not be able to be maintained, and there's some sort of anxiety in that as well, which I thought was really interesting. Anyway,
Oh no, that actually makes sense. That totally tracks with those situations in my past, you know. And the husband I'm married to was like the most peaceful, quiet, lovely, safe, warm getting together that was like it was like soft fireworks. I don't know how to explain it, but it was very different from that feeling.
Green flag.
Yeah, green flag turns out.
It shouldn't be so anxiety producing. I don't think that's now the new common guidance.
Yeah, I mean, and that makes sense. And so I think if we feel like compulsively, actually, if I think about that with dogs, you get like kind of obsessed with, I have to have a dog that looks like this. It's probably a red flag, you know, or I'm so jealous of my friend's whatever dog and they just seem so cool. But we really haven't thought about whether that would be a good match for us. I mean, the idea here is that, like, again, it is a give and take. So it is appropriate to take and say, may I ask you to compromise with me here? You know, is there any way that you could blah, blah, blah? Because that would work better for me. And particularly with dogs, just like with kids, there are dependents. And so the burden's on us even more to shoulder the responsibility to do for them first before we say, now, can you do this for me? And we haven't really been taught to do that with our dogs, have we? I mean, with kids a little more, but with dogs, not at all. Kind of, it's this one-sided imperative of, the dog's got to get on board with our expectations and what we want them to do and what we don't want them to do. And we call a dog trainer like us and we ask them to come in and fix it. And Justine, I know I've talked to you about this before, but like, I've had so many clients throughout my career that were coming in with all these expectations, and they would kind of like confess under their breath, like they don't do everything I tell them to do, like they're not obedient and they do this and this. And by the end of the appointment, once we've kind of framed all of that as who that dog is, they're sobbing because they're like, oh my gosh, like I didn't really understand that this was who my dog was. I thought, based on everything I've learned, or that the industry, the markets told me, that there was something wrong with me or something wrong with my dog because they were doing this. And then they come back like after that appointment a week later and they're like, everything's changed. Everything's shifted. And now we're not in conflict with each other and we like each other more. And all these other things have started happening and we found all this common ground. So it really is transformative. It's not just this like pie in the sky idea to say, you know, you've got to accept your dog for who they are. But frankly, if you don't do that first, everything else is likely to go off the rails or remain in tension going forward.
Yeah, well, I can relate to that big time because, as you know, I'm a Spaniel gun dog girl. That's what I grew up with. Grandparents had Spaniel, and then they were my dog of choice. And then I had Ziggy, who is a toy mix with a terrier, and he would spend all day, every day, if he had his choice, barking out the window at squirrels. That's what he just loved to do. He was a real patroller of our back garden, and it drove me absolutely bananas. I don't really like barking, actually. I like dogs to be a little bit quiet. I like some peace in my house, so I wouldn't do really well with a really barky dog, and that's what he was. And I've realized that actually the biggest issue in our relationship, because it was grating on me so much, was not that there was anything wrong with Ziggy, but that he wasn't a spaniel. That was the only thing that was wrong with him. And he wasn't acting in a way that I was familiar with. He was acting like a terrier would do, who's much more feisty. And as soon as I looked at him and I thought, wow, you are amazing at your job.
Mm.
You show up for work every day on time. You're very punctual. You really like dig in and you watch through that window for hours and hours on end. His little eyes would be staring out the window. He really, I mean, he worked hard at it. It changed my relationship with him overnight.
Mm.
I saw him in a completely different way. He just, it was really, it was such a quick way to get in a good space with him.
You know, it's so interesting because I mean, on the one hand, just quickly, you know that I can really relate to the like small dog barking thing, right? Like
Yes.
we both have had our little dogs and my little Primrose, being a toy mix, like that is part and parcel of who she is. And, you know, she's an alarm barker and she's going to alert to every little thing in the environment. And it's hard for me. Like it's not super compatible with me. And I knew that before I got her. I got her as a foster thinking that like she'd be a great match for someone else. And then we ended up keeping her because she had some separation issues and stuff like that.
And because she's ridiculously cute.
And she's ridiculously cute. And we love her very much, but it has created more conflict because of some of that compatibility stuff.
Mhm.
But reframing it to shift my expectations based on that acceptance has been everything. And so I actually have this thing that I love to use to explain to people, clients and whatnot, about how much expectations affect how we experience something, like where the event or the behavior itself might be exactly the same and our expectations is the only difference. So imagine you've been dating this guy for a while and you guys are going out to dinner at your favorite restaurant, right? And you're, you know, planning on meeting him there and really like the guy, very excited. Imagine that, you know, you've got it in your head that he's going to propose to you that night. And he doesn't propose to you. He brings you flowers instead. If you weren't expecting a proposition, you didn't think you were going to get that ring, and he just brought flowers to you as a surprise for dinner, then you might be like, oh my gosh, this is so lovely. You brought me flowers. That is so amazing. But if you're expecting the ring, you're going to be really disappointed. And his behavior is exactly the same. He just brought you flowers at your favorite restaurant, but just what you were expecting him to do, like the spaniel person in you that was expecting Ziggy to be a spaniel, is what created the frustration. And so just shifting it was everything, right?
That I have never heard you say that. And do you not know that is actually the story of me being proposed to? Yes.
Really? Oh my gosh.
Yes.
How is that possible?
That is exactly what happened.
Okay, you have to
ended-
tell us the story.
But it's exactly what you said. We had been dating for 6 years. I thought we would never get married, and it was a bit of a bone of contention. And we were living between America and England at the time, and he was over staying with me, and we went out to dinner. And one of my friends said, "Oh my gosh, when are you guys going to get married?" And he tapped his pocket like this because he had the ring in it. And he said, "But don't say anything." And of course, she came straight over to me and she was like, "Oh my gosh, let me know if you get any news tonight." So I was like, "Oh my God, it's going to happen tonight." I had no idea. I mean, 6 years it's a long time. You don't know, not expecting anything at that point, except for that night. Now I was. So we went for dinner and we're sitting across from each other in this lovely restaurant, and he gives me a card. And he's a really good writer, and he wrote some lovely stuff about how much he loved me and how great I was, and blah 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 blah. And guess what was not inside the envelope? A ring.
Right.
So we start walking back to the train to go home, and what I didn't know was that he was planning to propose back in my hometown at this castle.
Oh,
We had to get on the train first, and by the time we hit the train, we were surrounded by all these drunk people trucking out from London. And I was crying. I was like, oh my God, this is just getting so old. I can't deal with it anymore. I'm never going to get married. I'm like this old spinster and whatever. And while I'm blubbing, he just got down on one knee in the train with all the drunk people and proposed because he felt so bad that he'd made me wait, I guess, so long, and I was having a meltdown. So, but that's exactly right. We could have gone out for dinner and I would have read that card and thought it was wonderful. But instead, my mind was in a very different place that night. God, I can't believe that. That's so
crazy because that has literally been like my favorite example for like how the same exact event can be either good or bad depending on our expectations. It's
Yes.
such a big deal, guys. So if
Well, I
we're
can tell you from personal experience, it really is.
it really is.
It really is.
It was
really is.
everything.
Yes.
Well, thank God he came in at the final moment, right, and had a ring,
Yeah.
right? So that ended up being a good, happy story.
Imagine
And-
my runny mascara face, though. Probably, thank goodness it wasn't the day of like the proposals that people put on Instagram. Now that would have been
oh
like,
my gosh, right?
God,
Actually, but that would be
yeah.
so good, and then you would have gone viral, right?
Yeah.
But I think like that's really the message we're trying to get across, is that like compatibility really matters, right? And there's going to be people and dogs with which we live with really easily and get along with really easily, and others we don't. And so having the right selection for the
Choose
matchmaking,
wisely.
it's really
Choose
important.
wisely. And I think it's
Yes.
really important to know that there's actually like services now, aren't there, out there
Yeah.
where you can actually go and talk with a dog professional. If you're going to get a dog from a breeder, you can ask the breeder to select a puppy that is going to be the one that's the best fit for your family or for your home. And that's
It's
so
true.
helpful because they're with the puppies all the time. You might just go in for a half an hour meeting and not see, what they saw this morning.
Well, and oftentimes, right, if you go to pick a puppy, like the most gregarious, outgoing puppy is the one that comes over to you and you think, oh my gosh, they love me.
They love me.
But it's like you just picked the most confident puppy out of the litter, which could be fine or it could be really hard,
Exactly. And also the most confident puppy at that moment, because
Yeah.
they could be the one that ran up to you again in the afternoon, but in the morning they might have been asleep.
Right.
And a different one might have run up. It's really, that's why the breeder, if you have a really good breeder, super helpful because they know their dogs inside and out.
Well, and a really good breeder should actually also, by the way, for any breeders who are listening, and for those of you guys working with breeders, they should talk you out of a breed that's wrong for you.
Yes.
They really should.
Absolutely.
It shouldn't be that their conflict of interest about making a sale of a puppy is ever coming ahead of the best interest of that puppy. And so there's going to be a lot of breeds that aren't going to be right for you. I mean, we do this for a living, and both of us are aware that there's plenty of breeds that are not what we should be selecting for our environment and lifestyle. So we're trying to set everybody up for a life that's going to have as little conflict as possible. But just know that no matter what, every relationship, there are going to be things that you don't like, that surprise you, that you wish they just didn't do. And instead of coming at that with our dogs, with this agenda, this one-sided agenda that you're supposed to get on board with my expectations and what I want, sometimes, often, most of the time, it is more important that we step back, we look at and accept them for who they are. We value them for that, whether or not we make the determination it's going to be a great match. And we can even celebrate them for that. So I think that was one of the things we were going to talk about as a hack for our listeners today, right?
Yes. Well, we like to give you a hack, as you know, every week, something to make your life a little bit easier, make your life a little bit better. And this week's hack, we are calling the promotion hack.
I think this is hilarious.
We find ourselves hilarious.
Yes.
This is a way of flipping the script on something that you might find slightly annoying that your dog does. And there will be something. We all have something, You can also probably do it with your partner as well if you have a partner or a child or a parent.
Right.
Or
I'm going to come up with one for my husband later, actually.
Oh, yes. And maybe keep it to yourself. Or maybe you don't. Maybe share it. It could be even more fun.
Right.
So the promotion hack is we're going to give a title to our dog. Okay. We are going to call them the chief of something, or you can call them the senior vice president of, or head of, whatever you like to call it. So Kim, tell us what you came up with for your dogs. What are they heading the chain of?
So for all of Prim's constant alarm barking that makes me a little mental, right? I'm going to designate her the chief whistleblower.
Yes.
And for Early Bird, because she drives my husband and probably some neighbors crazy at 5 and 6 a.m. when she goes out and she barks at all of the wildlife that's just outside the fence. Chief of Border Patrol, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because, right, those are things that are like, they create some challenges and they are also baked into the cookie of who my dogs are. So I want to be able to say, okay, so like that's part of your purpose. Dogs need purpose just like people do. And so I want to be able to value you for that. Our ancestors painstakingly bred these drives and purposes into you. I can't just suddenly decide that I don't like it and I'm going to erase it. So instead, I'm going to try to reframe it and value it.
Amazing. I love it. So
How about
yes,
you?
Border Patrol can actually be like it obviously it was incredibly helpful, but I'm sure for some people they might find having a livestock guardian breed or some kind of a guardian breed that was meant to live outside and patrol the fences and make sure no scary wildlife got in to kill the sheep or whatever they were protecting. That barking or that patrolling could be kind of irritating. So that
Irritating and cause problems with neighbors and all kinds of things,
yeah.
which is why we say choose wisely, because she would not do very well in a little suburb neighborhood with a postage stamp yard.
No. And again, she's ridiculously gorgeous. So it wouldn't be surprising that somebody would look at her and think, oh, wow, I want that gorgeous big white fluffy dog in my
Right.
house. And
Right.
not realize what they
Exactly.
were getting into.
Yeah.
I have decided for Juice that he is going to be the chief motivator. There was a guy back in like the 80s, 90s here that was called Mr. Motivator, and he used to wear like a unitard. And he was like, let's get in shape. And he was just so odd and weird. And sometimes I feel like I'm living with a dog who's always ready to go, like drop of a hat, let's do
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And I find that it's sometimes exhausting because I want to
Yeah.
rest. I want to rest.
Yeah. No, I know, I totally get that. I've actually lived with a number of herding dogs that were like that. They're kind of similar in that way. They're like, what are we doing? What are we doing? We're going to go do something. And like, I did find it exhausting and really guilt provoking was one of the things
Yes.
I've come to realize is that like, I am really sensitive to how others are feeling. It's really cool and all when you're like, oh, I can intuitively pick up on that stuff. And it's really annoying when you have a dog who's like constantly frustrated, like, let's do something, let's do something, let's do something, let's do something. And you can't, and then I feel guilty. So yeah, I think that's a great designation is to realize that like, that's who he is and he's Mr. Ready to go. Right. And so we can value that, realizing he can't really change that about himself.
Exactly. And sometimes it's actually really handy because when you don't really feel like going out and he's giving you the Mr. Motivator eyes or Chief of Motivation eyes, it does get me off the couch and make me go out. And as soon as I go out, I come back and think, oh, that was actually really handy. So that it can help you see both sides of it. I think we've got to have a sense of humor about it, haven't we? If we're going to find them a little bit irritating, we've got to be able to laugh at the irritation, spin it in a way that, yeah, it's a bit more digestible.
Isn't that true for every relationship too? I mean, just saying anyone out there who is happily married and
oh yeah
and surviving parenthood without losing their ever loving mind, you have to have a sense of humor. You have to be able to laugh at yourself, laugh at each other, make jokes at your own expense, not take things too seriously. And so I think that's yet another thing we have to remember in approaching our relationships with dogs. It's like, it's supposed to be fun.
Yes,
we have dogs in our lives and hopefully we give that same thing back to them, like so that we can enjoy each other, right? So that we can have a great time.
That all goes away when you think about controlling.
Yes.
And changing. We just lose all of that. And if you think about somebody trying to control you and wanting to change everything about you, imagine you're an outgoing person who loves to be out and about talking to people and your partner wanted you to be shy and quiet. It would squash everything about you, wouldn't it? And it really would suck the fun out of your relationship for sure.
It would make me very resentful. I mean, as soon as you say that and I think about someone trying to change me, it just makes me feel really terrible. And actually I've been in relationships like that. I definitely have that in my past and can remember quite viscerally what that was like. It's a horrible feeling.
Not fun.
No. So, make sure you have that sense of humor and make sure that you are not going about it just with this agenda, trying to change them because it stinks being on the other end of that. And frankly, it'll just make you more frustrated in the long run. It just is one of those things where it's just not going to change if that is who that individual is. So compromise, agreements, flexibility, give and take, deposits, withdrawals, right? But also choose wisely. And definitely start with you are here because it's the only place you can start.
Well done. You did a really good wrap up there. I was like, should we wrap it up? But you just did.
Yeah, I think that's it. But what about a post-it pivot, right? What is one of those things that we could think about that we could take away from today's conversation?
So if you're small enough that you can write it down on a post-it note.
Exactly. Stick it on the fridge,
What would yours be?
I think I might just put my dog's promotional names on my fridge.
I was going to say
that's what I would do. Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Motivator.
Good morning, Mr. Motivator. Maybe I'll put them all over my house, like in the times when she usually drives me crazy the most. So maybe on my computer when I'm sitting at my desk and she's bucking like a chicken because she thinks she heard a squirrel fart outside, I can say, She's just being my security guard. It's wonderful. She's my
Exactly.
whistleblower. I value this, and we can
She
just
clocked
work
in
on the
early
terms.
this morning. She clocked in early. I love it. I love it. Well, if you like these kind of conversations and you want to learn more about the science behind what Kim is talking about, or more about the dial method, how you can put it into practice in your own house, definitely go to our website. You can find out more about our work there, both of our work there, and leave us voice messages, right? We want to hear from you. We love your messy moments and burning questions that you'd like us to unpack. And we'll see you again next Tuesday. In the meantime,
Your dog is not broken.
and neither are you.